Let's talk about breathing techniques for your best health. This is the Lovetarian Way podcast with Natalia PH and my beautiful guest, returning guest, Tania Plahay. Is that a correct way of spelling it, Tania?
Oh, it's Plahay, but there are different
Plahay.
pronunciations. It's
Beautiful.
an Indian name, so some people
Yeah.
call it Plaha. It used to be without the Y, and then I think the British added the Y. So there's some Plahas and there's some Plahays, and it comes from a small village in the Punjab, and only around this area do people have that surname. So if you meet anyone else with that surname, you'll know they're from a similar area of India than my father was from.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I'm glad that I kind of got it right. You know, the way that people pronounce my name, Polish name. Whoa, I'm not even but it's just so fun to hear it.
I bet, yeah.
Good. So tell us a little bit about your background. You have been to our podcast before. I believe it was podcast 4, right?
Mhm.
4 or 5, yes. So if anybody would like to learn about sound healing, please go back to that podcast and subscribe to the Lovetarian Way channel and have a look at what Tanya had to say. Our podcast was quite long. We were actually playing with Tibetan healing bowls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you taught us about that. You taught us about yoga for dementia. So that was a really interesting podcast. But today we plan to focus on breathing and optimizing our health with breathing techniques. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Please tell a
Yeah,
little bit about your background.
yeah. So my background is, well, I've been teaching and practicing yoga for maybe 20 years now. I became interested in yoga because my father was Indian, and I was always interested in sort of like Indian spirituality and how, pranayama means, prana means the life force and ayama means the control. So I was interested in like yoga and Indian things right from when I was sort of a teenager, and then I started practicing yoga in my late teens, and I found it really helped me. And it wasn't just the actual physical practice. So many people think about yoga as being the asanas, which are the techniques, but the asanas are really like the tip of the iceberg, because underneath we have the pranayama. So I found that the techniques we practiced also were really beneficial and helped me through a lot of issues in my life. Like my father passed away when I was 21 and I was still at university, and it was quite a tragic sort of time for me. And I think the breathing techniques, the yoga really helped me. So I did, my background is in geography and a science background really, but I've always been interested in yoga and spirituality. And I used to actually work in the environment field as a civil servant, because I'm also passionate about the environment and nature and connection with nature. But then after about 15 years in the government, I found that I didn't feel like I was helping people. I didn't feel like I could see the impact of what I was doing. And when I teach a yoga class, I was already teaching yoga part-time. I find like I'd get such great feedback after the classes, and people would feel really much better, or their anxiety would have gone. And I actually, through my government job, I taught a little bit of meditation and breathing techniques in the House of Parliament as well when I was still living in London. And I also did a lot of volunteering with older people with various diseases, including dementia. And that's how I came to write my Yoga for Dementia book, which, as Natalia said, you said we could hear more about in the previous podcast. But for this book, I also explored and went a bit deeper into some different breathing techniques and how the breath can really help us feel well and optimize our health. And one of the things that I'm passionate about breathing techniques is the breath is always with you and it's free. You don't have to spend any money on breathing techniques. Obviously, you need to learn the techniques, but it's interesting. There's a whole raft of different techniques. Some of them come from yoga background, some of them come from sort of Buddhist background, some of them come from sort of modern science, and now we're seeing a lot more studies that show that modern science is backing up these techniques as a way to optimize our health and a way to feel well and reduce anxiety and stress and all of those sorts of things. So that's a little bit about me. Now I'm a mother, so I have an 8-month-old baby and I live in Altea. and I teach yoga here and meditation. I run retreats, and I also continue my work on yoga for dementia with older people, share things that can help people living with dementia and also their carers. So that's a little bit about me.
Beautiful.
I hope that covers it.
Yeah, great. So you said you prepared 3 techniques to help us, and this is a perfect season now to give yourself extra boost and balance. I'm a little bit under the weather myself, so I'm sure I can benefit from that. So what have you got for us?
So the first technique is one that I love teaching to beginners and also to people who've been practicing a long time. It is actually in my book as well. So if you wanted to get the book, or you have a friend you'd like to buy the book for, you can always go and have a look at the book and get the technique. But I can explain it to you.
You buy it on Amazon, or?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon or directly from the publisher as well, Jessica Kingsley, which is a UK, London-based publisher, but you can get it on Amazon. We can share the link later if you like, Natalia, so people can see it. So this is a technique, it's called 3-part breath, or sometimes it's known as the full yogic breath. And if you're seated today, you can do the technique sitting down. Also in my book, there's a diagram with some pictures showing how you might be able to do it lying down. So it's up to you whether you practice seated or lying down. And the great thing about this technique is you can sort of make it as long or as short as you want. So you could do it for like 10 minutes, you could do it for 20 minutes if you have more time. So I think we'll do it kind of for a few minutes now and then see how you feel. So the first thing we're going to do, are you ready? Do you want to ask any more questions about it first?
What are the indications for that breath then?
The 3-part breath, yeah. So when would you do this breath? Is that the question, the sort of thing? So this breath, it's kind of one that's kind of good for all people. So some breath work you might want to do to sort of calm down. Some breathing techniques you might want to do to sort of bring yourself a little bit up. So I remember kind of listening to someone and they were explaining it like this. And they said, it's like coffee, water, and brandy. There's some techniques you'll want to have you'll want to have a quick technique and do it quickly, and it might sort of bring you up a little bit. Those are like coffee. You might want to have it occasionally. You might not want to have it. You don't want to do it all the time. And then brandy, you might want to have a little sip before going to sleep, or maybe you don't drink, but some people do that. And those techniques are ones that can sort of bring you down and get you into a sort of sleep state. And then you have water. And really, we should all be drinking more water and drink the water all the time. So some breathing techniques are like water, and we can do them all the time, and they can be fantastic just for overall health. So this breathing technique is fantastic for overall health. And I'd say anyone can do it. It can be particularly good. I know a lot of people have been suffering with colds and various other illnesses, and it can be particularly good if you feel like you've lost a bit of breath, or you maybe are not breathing quite right, or you've been ill and you need to kind of restore your energy and bring your body some more energy, but not kind of too like the coffee, like a gentle more energy. So there's a lovely gentle technique. It can be relaxing. You could do it as a prelude to meditation, or maybe you'd like to do it just when you got home from work and do it lying down. You could spend 10 minutes doing it just to kind of reset and rebalance and re-energize.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so shall we ready to try it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you're lying down, you might want to lie down either on your bed or a yoga mat. You could have your knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. If you're seated, you're going to just take your hands like so, and you're going to take your hands and you're going to take them right down towards your belly. So have them low down in your belly, and see if you can keep it so the middle finger is just touching like this. And if you are seated and you're wearing anything tight, like a tight belt or tight trousers, maybe just loosen your belt and loosen the trousers so you can be nice and comfortable. And then for this one, you might want to just close your eyes, so try and be as comfortable as you can. Take a moment to ground down into the feet, so you may want to kind of lift your toes, and then press your toes down. Then lift your heels and press your heels down. Check in with your spine. You may want to just move a little bit side to side, a little bit backwards and forwards. Good. And then beginning to breathe. So begin to feel that you're really breathing down into the belly. See if you can notice that when you inhale, your fingers move away from each other, and it might just be like a millimeter. And then when you exhale, the fingers move towards one another. So when you inhale, the fingers move away from one another. And when you exhale, the fingers move towards one another. Fingers move away. Fingers move towards. A few more breaths like this. And as you're breathing in and out of this area, we can think about the belly as being like this is where our Swadhisthana, where our lower chakras are. So they're to do with creativity. We also have our Manipura, our navel chakra down here as well. And that's to do with assimilating energy and fire, like the digestive fires. We have water and we have fire down here. So as we're breathing into this area, see if we can visualize that we're breathing into all of our pelvic organs. So we're breathing into the sex organs, the belly, the digestive system. And as we're breathing in now here, we're really nourishing this area, nourishing it with our own breath, our own attention, accessing our own healing. And when we're ready, we're going to move the hands up and take them round our ribs. So you can move them up, just take them sort of around the rib cage. Just gently sort of feel into where the ribs are. And you may even like to kind of rub the thumbs a little bit around the back of the ribs. It's interesting to note that where there are ribs, there are lungs. So I think sometimes we think about our lungs and we think about them being quite small. But actually, they're pretty big and they take up a lot of space. So that holding gently onto the lungs and the ribs. And beginning to breathe in and out here.
All the time through the nose.
All the time through the nose, yeah. Occasionally, if you want to, like say you're feeling a little bit stressed and you really want to release, you could breathe in through the nose. And then you could breathe out through the mouth, the little sigh, like just to let things go a bit more. So ideally through the nose in and out, but occasionally you might want to just take a little sigh. And sometimes when you're doing these techniques, if you feel relaxed, you may even like want to yawn while you're doing them. And let go a little bit more tension. And as you're focusing on the movement of the ribs, see if you can be aware of how the ribs are moving to the side, to the front, and to the back. So the ribs move in a sort of multi-dimensional nature, a multi-dimensional way. And when you're ready, take your hands up to your collarbones. You can spread them quite wide so your thumb almost touches the sort of inside of the shoulder. and your little finger touches towards the heart. And then beginning to focus on the breath going into the upper chest. And feel how the collarbones lift, but they also spread as we breathe in and out. Good, excellent. And if you find it hard to feel the movement of the chest, you can always press a little bit harder on the chest, just until you can really feel the movement. And then take one hand back to the belly, leave the other hand where it is. And then begin to almost imagine the torso as like a sort of vessel, a clay pot, you could imagine it. As you breathe in, you're pouring in water from the base of your pot to the top of your pot. So we're breathing in belly, ribs, and upper chest. And breathing out the other way. So you can imagine the water's evaporating as you breathe out. It's moving from the top of the chest to the middle part to the bottom. So belly, ribs, upper chest, ribs and belly. Belly, ribs, upper chest, ribs and belly. Visualizing this breath entering, flowing up the torso and then leaving and evaporating like a gas. And as we're doing this technique, you may also think about inviting the breath in a little bit deeper. So you might imagine the breath's going a little bit wider. You may imagine it's going a little bit taller. You may imagine it's going out a little bit more. So just inviting the breath in to all the places it doesn't normally go. And after a few more breaths like this, just allow the breath to return to a nice natural breath. Just in and out of the nose, soft. And then notice how you feel.
I feel a little dizzy now.
Yeah. Yes, so one of the counterindications is sometimes if you have low blood pressure, you want to just be a bit careful with some of these breathing techniques, because generally they help us to feel calm. If we're already calm or we have low blood pressure, we may find that they make us feel a little bit too calm, and they might make us feel a little bit lightheaded, and that can happen. So
it would be me then.
Yeah.
So, generally to calm your system, and since I was already calm, maybe not.
Yeah, so that's a nice calming one. So one of the things to do is if you do find actually, you have got low blood pressure or you're already feeling very calm, you might sort of think, oh, actually, I'm just going to do this one for 5 minutes, or not do it for too long. And you can just do it a little bit less. You could even do it with your eyes open. So that would be a way of doing it. And it wouldn't be quite so sort of calming. It wouldn't be quite so internal, if you see what I mean.
And what would be the benefit for someone who is already calm or has low blood pressure? Any?
Yeah, this would still be beneficial. So basically, with this breath, what we're doing is we bring in the breath into lots of different parts of the body. So what often happens is when we can be stressed, or generally people through life can develop quite bad breathing habits. And often, particularly as women or men as well, we're sort of told that a belly is wrong and that we shouldn't have a belly. So many people hold a lot of tension in their belly. And what happens is when our belly is pulled in, it affects the movement of the diaphragm. So really, the way we should all be breathing, and the primary sort of breathing muscle is the diaphragm. So the diaphragm kind of lies under the ribs, and this moves up and down as we breathe. And in order for the diaphragm to move freely, we need the belly to move freely. But what often happens is that people hold their belly in, and then their diaphragm isn't used effectively. And so then they're using other breathing muscles like the chest muscles, the side ribs. They're using other breathing muscles to breathe. And these breathing muscles were not designed as a primary breathing muscle. So what this breath does, it helps us to focus on proper breathing technique. Like as we breathe in, the belly moves out, and then as we breathe out, the belly moves in. Also, it helps us to use the side ribs to bring in the flow here, and also to use the upper chest. And when you sort of study breathing or breathing techniques, we find a lot of people have what's called kind of frozen breath. So many people in the Western world, and probably in the Eastern world as well, are suffering from like low-lying levels of stress. I mean, so they might be stressed, they might have high levels of stress, but even when they are not in a kind of very stressful episode, mentally, they may have sort of underlying stress. So sort of going along, if you can imagine a graph, it's sort of going along like this all the time, the stress.
Yeah.
And that's affecting their posture and how they hold themselves, because when we're stressed, we tend to hold ourselves a little bit more stiff, and we tend to kind of maybe hold in the belly, maybe tense the shoulders a little bit and not relax. So when we practice this 3-part breath, it can teach us to actually relax and to allow the body to move and allow the breath to flow freely. It's also another benefit is because we have something in our lungs called residual air. So when we're not breathing in and out deeply, what happens is we have a certain amount of air stays in the lungs, and that happens all the time, because otherwise the lungs would collapse completely. So the lungs have to have air in them. But if we just breathe very shallow, this residual air can kind of stay in the lungs, whereas when we do deep breathing, it helps to get rid of the residual air. So we're bringing in more oxygen. Yes, we're bringing in more oxygen. So really there's a number of different benefits. So it's a bit of a long answer to your question, but it could be,
Right. No, great. So now if I wanted to rejuvenate a little bit after I have really calmed down, do you have another breath now for a change of pace?
Yeah, we have another breath for a change of pace. So this one is called Kapalabhati, and this one is another sort of yogic breathing technique, and it's called the skull shining breath. And again, it's a little bit of contraindication. So if any of these practices make you feel at all dizzy or lightheaded, just stop doing them, because sometimes people can find they make them feel claustrophobic as well. So Kapalabhati is known as the skull shining breath, and this one,
hold on, let me repeat.
Skull shining breath. Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay. So it can be a great one to do if you, it's a bit like kind of a cup of coffee, if you need a little bit of a wake me up. So we talked about the breath.
Coffee yet, so that would be good.
So it's a great little sort of wake me up. It's, yeah, what else can I say about it? It's a kind of, it's a pick me up sort of breath. And it can be good, like if you're sitting in a meditation, for example, and your mind feels a little bit foggy or you can't focus, you might just want to have a little shot of Kapalabhati to sort of pick you up a little bit. Some counterindications to this one. So if you've got your period, it's better to do it very lightly. If you've got any upset stomach, better to do it lightly. And again, it's best to kind of approach all these breathing techniques with a little bit of caution. Like, don't sort of start doing them and do them every day or do them twice a day. You know, do them, see how you feel the next day. If it worked for you, you could try it again. If you find actually that didn't make me feel good, just don't do it. And always kind of like, you know, if you're starting anything new, always, you know, and if you're worried about it, always sort of seek the guidance of a skilled teacher. You know, you can always get in touch with me, or, you know, you can seek a local teacher before you start anything too extreme. So Kapalabhati, what you can do is to learn. Oh, do you want to ask any questions about it before we start?
Well, I mean, in general, everything is clear. Is it like fire breath that you cannot sometimes use it for certain circumstances? Is that similar?
Yeah, Kapalabhati is sometimes called the breath of fire, so it's similar. Yeah, so that's the one. Have you done it before?
Oh yes, I was training with Wim Hof, you know.
Yeah. So
yeah. He calls it also something different, but I mean,
yeah.
honestly, it all originates from there when you really go rapidly and you
Yeah.
beat yourself up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So different schools will teach it, will call it different things. So it's sometimes known as the breath of fire as well. So that's that one. So ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
So to learn it, what's best to do is just take your hand onto your belly and just going to practice just breathing out with a little sniff, like. And the main thing is that you focus on the breath out. You don't focus on the breath in. That's a different technique. So some people, it's like, and that's focusing on the breath in and out. This one, it's almost like you're just blowing out a candle with your nose. So it's just, and as you breathe out, you should feel the belly going in a little bit. You could do it quite lightly just to start it. So what you do is you breathe in and breathe out together. So I'm going to learn it in quite a nice light way. So you can breathe in, breathe out together. So then after the next inhale, you're going to take a deep inhale and then you're going to do 10 little sniffs out. So breathing in.
But when I do out, my belly goes out. You know, my belly goes out.
Out, it doesn't go in. So try to, when you breathe out, try to draw your belly in. See if you can try that.
And I'm breathing out. Completely counterintuitive, right? For me. I can't.
You can't do it.
Let's try again. Okay, so I'm pulling my belly in. So strange.
So try to imagine that when you're pulling your belly in, you're kind of pushing the air out. So you can imagine the belly pulling in, or you can also kind of imagine a sort of circular type of thing.
Like
So
you see, for me, naturally, I'm doing that and I'm breathing in, right? So you want the opposite.
So when you breathe out, you push your belly in, like
when I breathe out, I go like this with my belly out, you see? So you want me to do the opposite?
Yeah, so when you breathe in, have your hand on your belly and breathe into the belly. The belly expands, and then when you breathe out, the belly goes in.
No, belly goes out when I breathe out. Oh, wish you were here with me. Now you're a stubborn student.
Yeah, a stubborn student. So let's so try breathing. So try taking a deep breath in and then really breathing in and let the belly go out.
Okay, breathe in and belly out. Okay.
Yeah, make the belly round. Now breathe out shortly and let your belly go in. Like.
Okay.
Worked, yeah? So let's try that again. So anyone else who's on the video who finds it difficult, let's just try this stage to start with. So breathe in, let your belly go out. Imagine you're filling up a balloon with the breath, in, and then out. Imagine you're pushing the balloon. So if you imagine your belly like a balloon, as you breathe in, you're filling up that balloon. And as you push down on the balloon, a little bit of air comes out. Yeah, got that. So let's try again. So let's just breathe a couple of normal breaths just to reset ourselves. So inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale, nose. Belly goes out. Exhale, belly in a little bit. Now ready, big inhale through the nose, belly out. Then 10 little sniffs. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And then deep breath into the belly. Belly goes out and then 10 little sniffs. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then just returning to a natural breath. And then open your eyes. How do you feel after those 2 rounds?
You're more energized, yeah?
Yeah, more energized. So what we can do is, if you want to, we can carry on a little bit. So always sort of check in with yourself, particularly if you have got low blood pressure like Natalia here. And we can do 1 of 10. So we always sort of just reset the breath in between. We'll do a couple of breaths in and out, just natural breaths. And then we'll take a deep breath in, belly expands, and then we do 10 little sniffs. Then we're going to do a couple of more breaths, and we take a deep breath in, and then we try to do 20 little sniffs, and then we do again deep breath in, and we'll do another 20. Now, if you've been practicing this a while, you can do like 30, 40, you can build it up, and you can do more repetitions with less sort of time in between. But as sort of beginners, or if you're new to it, I'd highly recommend sort of taking your time and doing it quite softly. So let's practice again. So hands on the belly. You can close your eyes if you like. Just take a moment before we start and notice how you feel. So notice how the mind is. Notice how the body is. And then we can notice how the breath feels. Good. Then let's set our breaths together. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Deep breath into the belly. Belly goes out. And 10 little sniffs. Deep breath in together. Breathing out. Deep breath in. Breathing out. Deep breath into the belly. Belly goes out, and then 20 little sniffs. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. One more breath to reset. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Excellent. And then deep breath in, belly goes out like a balloon, and then another 20. Inhale in through the nose. Exhale. And then just allow your breath to return to a nice, normal, natural breath. Taking it nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. Notice how you feel.
Tingling.
Yeah? Do you feel that kind of skull shining as well? Like sometimes if you do this, before meditation, like mind can feel a little bit fuzzy, and then afterwards, when I do it, like my mind feels like really nice and clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice indeed.
Mm.
More open.
Yeah, and you can, like, some people like build themselves up to do like 50 little sniffs, and obviously it's something you can build yourself up to
Well, I was
slowly.
I was doing it a part of a training for the cold, it's we did a few rounds of that and then cold showers or jump cold sea or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that breath, we were talking about the coffee and the water and the brandy, and that breath's a little bit more like a coffee. It's going to bring us up and energize us a little bit.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. So this breath, when do you recommend it? Any specific conditions you can think about?
Yeah, I think it can be good, like if you're if you're feeling a little bit like discombobulated. I'm sure we all feel sometimes a bit like that during these times, but if you're kind of feeling a little bit unfocused, for example, I kind of say it can be really good to sort of get us a bit more focused, get us a bit more into the now. Like if you've got a sort of big task to do and you want a little bit of energy to do it, a bit like, I think you'd use it like when you sort of have a cup of coffee, like thinking, oh, I want to, or when you might have had a cup of coffee, if you drink coffee, you might think, oh, a quick cup of coffee and then I'm going to sort of go and do this or blitz something or get to a task we've been avoiding. So it can be quite good, like, for procrastination and that sort of thing.
Correct.
Gives us a little bit more, brings us a little bit more energy, oxygenates the blood. And it's also quite good because obviously in this breath as well, I don't know if you felt it, the belly is going in a little bit. So sometimes, with the belly, we can feel a little bit sluggish, for example. We might have felt like, it's like something just feel a bit like, yeah, type of thing. So I think sometimes it can be quite good to have after we've sort of been feeling a little bit sluggish, because it gets the belly moving, and it's quite good for energizing our belly and actually sort of working the core a little bit as well. So it's got some additional sort of benefits, potentially for our digestive system as well.
Good, great. So then the third one would be like in between those two, or?
Yeah, the third one would be one for like calming down that we might want to do before we go to sleep. And the third one we're going to sort of like use, we'll use a little bit of a technique from tantric yoga, and that's like classical tantric rather than neo-tantric. Classical tantra is about, the word tantra means to weave, so it's like a weaving together of different practices. So in this one we use a light and we use a visualization as well. But before we do that, I was thinking maybe I could just talk a little bit about my approach to breath work as well, and where I'm sort of coming from with it, if that's okay with you. And I had a little like poem to quote as well. So what I was thinking is, there's many different schools of breath work and types of breath work, and some of them can be sort of quite strong and a little bit sort of almost like a little bit of kind of forceful, if you see what I mean. Now, I think that the breath is like it's something that's with us from the moment we're born to the moment we die. And when we begin to work with the breath, it's almost like we want to invite the breath in. So a lot of the techniques we use, they're there to make us feel optimal, and they're there for optimal health. And if we start doing the techniques and they're too strong for us, if we're not used to doing them, they can actually make us feel like a little bit stressed. And then we move into the, all of the cortisol, the hormones that come with stress, the adrenaline, and then we're feeding our stress body, so to speak. So the techniques I like to use and the way I like to teach them is very soft and very like inviting a friend. So I like to see these techniques as a bit like we are inviting a friend into our body. So the breath is like a friend and it's coming in. So when we invite a friend to our house, well, when we used to, before the days of COVID, when we used to actually have people over, you know, we wouldn't just kind of grab our friend and be like, you here, like, come to my house, like, you've got to come now, like, you know, come in. You know, what do you think the friend would do? Like, the person would be a bit like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be friends with you, you're a bit weird, you know. So I like to think, you know, when we invite a friend, you know, first of all, we make our house nice, we make it inviting, and then we kind of invite the friend, and then we wait patiently for them to come. So with our breath work, it's a bit like that, you know, we want to keep it soft, we want to make our body a nice place for the breath to come, and we want to kind of get to know that breath gently, because for many people, even though the breath has been there all the time, you know, it might be the first time they're exploring breath work. And these techniques, they can be gentle, but they can also be very powerful at the same time. So we want to approach them with caution. And then thinking about the breath as being like a friend that comes to us, I wanted to just read this poem, if it's okay for you, by Rumi, just to think about the breath. Rumi. Yeah. So I was thinking about the poem Guest House, because the breath comes in and it's like the breath is like a guest in our house sort of thing. This human being is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep out your house, empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Oh, beautiful. What is the title of that poem?
That's The Guest House by Rumi.
Okay, we will write this down. It's beautiful. Guest house.
Yeah. Great.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, so the next technique, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Good. So this one, you could do it lying down as well, or you could do it sitting. And it's a version of Nadi Shodhana, which is a balancing breath where you use your hands. But this is a much softer version. And in this technique, what we do is we use our hands and we visualize. You can have the hands by your side, they don't have to be up here. I'm just going to sort of demonstrate. You visualize with your finger that your breath is kind of traveling down, and then it travels to the palm. And as it travels to the palm, you can open the palm just a little bit, and then you can send it back. Like you can send it back to the third eye point, and then it will travel down to the other palm. And you can open the palm just a little bit. When you open the hands, you don't have to open them a lot. You can just open them a little bit, and you can close them a little bit. And some of my students called it a tennis ball breath, because you can imagine the breath going from one side to the other side. So you kind of visualize a triangle, and you could imagine the breath being like a little ball of light. So let's close the eyes, and then we can start. So if you're lying down, you just lie down with your hands by your side. If you're seated, you can just rest your hands on the lap. So then just breathing in and out. Visualizing a point of light at the eyebrow center. You can imagine this as the center of a candle flame. Or any small round point of light. Inhale through the nose. And then exhale, imagine the breath traveling down the right side, down the right nostril, and then opening the right hand a little bit. So sending the breath to the right hand. Then inhale, closing the right hand, send the breath up to the nostrils, to the eyebrow center. And then exhale to the left hand. Visualizing that point of light going down there. Inhale, closing the left hand. The point of light goes back up to the eyebrow center. And then exhale down the left hand. And back to the right hand. Close the fingers, send the light up to the eyebrow center. And then down the other side. See if you can visualize these points of light like two sides of a triangle. And each time you breathe in and out, you can kind of visualize or imagine that the points of light are making a kind of almost a pathway of light. From the eyebrow center down to the hand. And you can continue moving the hands if you find this helpful. But you may also like to imagine that the light is going beyond the fingers, all the way down to beyond the feet. So you're extending that triangle and making it bigger. And then you may like to imagine that that ball of light is actually kind of spreading out. So the light is going down the whole side of one body, the whole side of your body, and then it comes up, sweeping up nice and wide, and then it travels down this other side of the body, nice and wide. And then bring the light back to the eyebrow center. And then imagine the light's going all the way down the center of your body. So it's going down through the chakra points, throat for communication, heart for love, belly for energy, sex organs for creativity, and the root of the body for grounding and stability. You can imagine that light just moving up and down, integrating all the parts of your body, integrating you. And soothing the body, the light of your prana, the light of your breath. And when your light goes down the body, just rest it anywhere you like. So you might want to keep it at the eyebrow center if you need more energy in the mind. You might want to rest it at the throat center if you want to work on communication, or the heart or the belly, base of the body, wherever you feel you need a little bit more energy, a little bit more prana. Then resting it there. A few more breaths. And then when you're ready, wiggle your fingers. And open your eyes, maybe take a deeper breath and a sigh. Noticing how you feel.
You could go to bed now.
Yeah. So that one was a bit like a brandy. and there might be something we want to do before we go to bed. It's really nice lying down. Like if you're in bed and you can't sleep, you could just practice that one lying down just to help you feel a bit more calm. And that one, as I said, is from the tantric tradition, the actual tantric, not neo-tantric, which is to do with sex. Actual tantric is just about weaving. So tantra means to weave. So that weaves together the mental kind of focus on the light. It also works the chakras and what's known as in yoga as the nadis, the energy channels. So it helps to kind of free up those places.
So this one should actually help you sleep nicely, maybe, because I felt like I could go to bed now.
Yeah, I feel the same. I thought, oh, I could have a little afternoon siesta now. Yeah, that one could be a great one to do before sleep.
Beautiful. Well, look at that. We're coming on 51 minutes, so now we can all have a nap. If anybody has time, we can all take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
We had some nice viewers here, but very quiet. Nobody had asked any questions, so that's okay. That is going to be a replay on YouTube. So please, by all means, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Lovetarian Way YouTube channel, and you can see all the episodes of the Lovetarian Way podcast. You can be notified of the new episodes. Tania can answer your questions as well. You are on YouTube, right? On Facebook as well. If you type, she can answer the questions. So Tania, do you have any final words for our viewers? This was awesome. Please rewatch it and practice those techniques because each was beneficial for different things.
Yeah, just as a final word, the breath is with you wherever you go and it's always there. You don't have to pay a lot of money for it. So when we can learn to access these breathing techniques and learn to make friends with our breath, they really can help us to achieve optimal health. That these techniques and other ones are in my book, Yoga for Dementia, so it's available on Amazon. If you know anyone.
Putting your website up here so anybody can get in touch. Also, Tania Yogini, right? Or Tania
Plahay, yeah.
Plahay.
Yeah.
On Facebook, so you can connect with her, right?
Yeah.
And ask questions. Perfect.
Yeah.
Any
else?
Yeah.
No, I hope everyone benefited from it and enjoyed it, and do share them with your friends if you know anyone who has stress or anxiety or needs a little bit of help and wants to do some techniques at home. These are free, fantastic ones to start with and to start practicing. Obviously, there's lots more I could have shared with you, but these are ones that I like to share with beginners, or even if you're not a beginner, there's still new things to try.
No, definitely. And this one is definitely important to rewatch. You can even make some notes so that you can, get used to practicing without watching, and you can do it anytime you want, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It was super interesting. For the viewers, please, as I said, ask your questions if you have them later. Go visit Tania's website, purchase her book. It's very, very valuable, really amazing exercises there. And please rewatch the podcast. I believe episode 4 was when we talked about sound healing and yoga for dementia and yoga in general in more detail. And yeah, that's it. And next week, please tune in for the Lovetarian Way podcast with my South African friend. We'll talk about Akashic Records, Taryn van der Merwe. Again, another name. All those international speakers with their international names, That's why I also prefer to ask when we meet live if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But as I said, with my Polish name, I had it pronounced in such ways that it's just joy itself to listen how people.
How do you actually pronounce it?
Try it. Have you seen my name?
I have seen it, but I haven't. I'd have to have it in front of me to actually
Yeah, check it on Facebook. I'm curious how you're gonna pronounce it because it's hilarious to hear it foreigners say.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna remind everybody to please tune in to our YouTube channel. Check Tania's YouTube channel. She also has some nice videos. And yeah, stay tuned. Please share because that is very important that, when you share, people can see it. More and more people all over the world, right? Okay, my name comes.
So, Presbylask Hansen.
Awesome. Not even close. Great. Yeah, so it's przybylska.
Przybylska.
That's right. You know, Polish alphabet has some extra letters. We actually have this R and Z. That's Z. So yeah, you don't have that in English alphabet. So we have extra letters in Polish alphabet. Yeah, more complicated language.
Yeah, but beautiful as well.
So here's
Przybylska.
Natalia Ewa Przybylska Hanson, Natalia PH for short. Now you know why I have a shortening. And Tania Plahay.
Plahay, yeah.
Many
options, yeah.
Thanking you for tuning in, and please find us on YouTube, Facebook, IG, right? All over social media, we are there. So tune in and spread the word. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tania. Namaste.
Thank you, Natalia. Namaste. Bye.